This is the third year in a row that a pigeon's nested in the tree just outside my front door. I mean, any cat can get to that nest. And sure enough, the last 2 years, the eggs have been stolen or broken. So this pigeon is either very stupid or has a very short memory. I was chatting yesterday to some of the guys who actually manage these fields on our behalf, and they were saying that they've got a bit of a quandary at the moment because this field maple here and the other field maple over here just next to it, this big one here, both of them are actually starting to lean quite dangerously, and as you can see there's been some disruption of the ground. And as anyone who understands anything about trees will tell you, if trees start lifting out of the ground, that's a worry, that's something of concern. So they were discussing yesterday having to take maybe the tops of these trees off to take some of the weight off. I hope that's all they have to do. They're beautiful trees and it'd be a shame to actually lose them. And this one's kind of iconic because this is part of the actual whole entrance to the fields. So yeah, I'm sure they'll do the right thing. A sort of sensible balance between safety and aesthetics. There's another indicator here how much this tree is shifted by that piece of wood. It's actually grown into the tree because the piece of wood is quite old, but it used to be upright. So yeah, definitely about 30 degrees now, I reckon. Just found this at the base of this tree. This is a King Alfred's cake. It's a kind of fungus. It's rock hard and it's almost woody. You can see the rings in it, can't you? These are quite interesting. Quite an interesting fungus because if you dry them, they will hold a spark. They're flammable. They're like poor man's coal, they used to call it. So there you go, there's a King Alfred's cake. The view across these meadows today is lovely, with that lovely cloudscape. I don't know whether you can quite see it there, that sort of wicker fencey thing. I'll get a closer photograph in a minute. They're blocking off the wildlife pond at the moment, which I featured in the last video, simply because they want to start planting it up with aerating plants now, because obviously it's got to survive through the winter. And there will be a lot of water flowing through there. So what they want to do is get some plants in there so that come the spring the water will be nice and aerated and it'll start attracting some wildlife. Hopefully we'll get some tadpoles in there, maybe some newts, who knows. And I have to say, it's done a nice job making this screen. It's very much in keeping with the area and all made with local materials. Oh my word, what a rare sighting. Look at that, a white and crumbly dog poo. We used to see a lot of those in the 1960s and the 70s when I was growing up, because back in the day, people used to give their dogs bones, you know, raw bones to chew. And dogs love to crunch bones up virtually to a powder and swallow them and eat them. And that's what comes out in the poo. You know, that's why the poo is white, because it's nearly all calcium. Don't see it so much these days. So that was a rare callback to an earlier age. It's another blustery day on top of the Chiltern Hills and I'm having to hold my hat on today. Good job I got my chin strap. It was raining all night and most of this morning, but at least that stopped. Things were a little tiny bit squelchy underfoot, but definitely the first autumnal feeling day. Although, frankly, it's not that cold, just blowy. Well, there goes my hat. There goes my hat. I told you it was blustery. I've not seen any fresh artichoke galls on the oak trees this year. That's one from last year, and it's a bit tatty now. They're kind of pear-shaped, a bit like a globe artichoke, I suppose, in their shape, hence the name. But no, not seen any this year. This tree had about 7 or 8 last year. Not seen any fresh ones. A couple of nice marble galls here on the same tree that artichoke gall was on, and these are last year's as well. And in fact, I think they're last year's. Soon check. There should be a hole in this marble gall somewhere showing where the wasp has escaped. And you know what? I can't see a hole. Unless there's one at the back. Oh no, there it is underneath. And there's a big old cherry gall on the underside of that leaf. And there's another one over here. They're the biggest ones I've ever seen. Look at the size of these compared to my thumb. They're huge. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing any artichoke galls on that tree this year, because the marble galls and the cherry galls have taken it over. You alright, dog? Are you eating grass again? Come on. I like to check this stump at this time of year because 3 years ago this was absolutely covered from top to bottom in hundreds of small mushrooms. It was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but nothing for the last couple of years. Hoping we might get some back this year, but I'll keep checking it. I love the base of this tree. I mean, replete with fairy house, but I just love the shape of it. All these lovely curves and lines. It's a hawthorn. You can tell it's a hawthorn from the leaves. But isn't it beautiful? Just love all those kind of ribs down at the bottom. Nice. Even better than this side, look. Isn't that lovely? Now, this old cherry tree was a bit poorly last year. And in fact, it still looks like it's slightly diseased because can you see that sort of ambery type stuff there? That sort of sap that it's leaking. There's a bit more up there, quite a lot more up there. That's something called gummosis, and it's something that the tree does when it's diseased or it's in some way not well. So I shall keep an eye on this tree, and I shall make sure I tell the appropriate people if it looks like it's actually in the process of dying. At the moment it's got quite a healthy crown, so I'm not overly worried, but never a good sign, never a good sign. Now see, this is a cherry tree which about 5-6 years ago had that same gummosis thing going on, and the tree actually, the crown died, so they cut this one down because otherwise it just would have fallen. It doesn't seem to have, whatever the problem was, it doesn't seem to have spread to this cherry because this one's still very healthy. And there's a few other cherries a little bit further down here, so that's good news at least. See, this one here is a lovely old cherry. You can always tell cherry from those horizontal striations on the bark, but again, look at the crown. It's really, really healthy, really healthy. Lots and lots of leaves up there, lots and lots. So we don't have any worries with this one, and no gummosis either. No, none at all. So that was good too. And this one, told you there are a few more cherries nearby. There's another one, look. That bark is very, very distinctive. Those cherry trees are the same ones on which I found some chicken of the woods growing. Not last year, year before, 2 years ago. Which was very tasty. It's one of the tastiest of all the wild mushrooms. But things do take a break for a couple of years, as you saw with that stump with the lack of mushrooms on it. Fungi live under the ground. In fact, if you talk about fungi in general, we don't really see them because they live their whole lives underground. The fungus is actually the huge mycelial network under the ground. The only bit we see is when they want to breed, when they want to push their sex organs up through the soil and basically flash us. That's what they're doing. They are flashing their organs at us. Because mushrooms, toadstools and all those sorts of things, they're actually the fruiting bodies of the fungus, and they only produce them when they want to actually breed, when they want to chuck their spores out into the world and make more. So yeah, a bit embarrassing really, I suppose, that we eat their sex organs. There's a fledgling pigeon, a squab just here, so I'm going to be very careful going past with Harris. I don't think he'd do any harm because he's not got that hunting instinct, but nevertheless. See, pigeons are dumb. On the last video I talked about the fact that I'd started my new weight loss, I won't say regime or diet because it isn't really, it's just cutting down on the carbohydrates, doing a lot more walking, and you know, the things that we have every day as staples, a lot of those really shouldn't be staples, they should be treats. So nothing's banned. If I want a beer I can have a beer, if I want a chocolate bar I can have one, but not every day, just as an occasional treat. The results are in. First week, really good. 3.5 pounds lost. I said in the previous video that when I lost the 4 stone, I used a combination of food science and also human behavioural science, a bit of psychology, to actually get through the whole process. And I did. And here's a perfect example of a little piece of human psychology you can use to help you with your weight loss. I lost 3.5 pounds this past week, which I'm very pleased with. Now, some people might look at that and say, oh, it's only 3.5 pounds, I've got loads to lose. Well, you know, what happens if you only lose 1 pound or 2 pounds on your diet scheme or whatever it is you're doing? Well, visualize it. Visualization is a very powerful technique. Visualize what 3.5 pounds looks like. In my case, I always use blocks of butter or lard because each one of those is half a pound. So if I've lost 3.5 pounds this week, that means I've lost 7 blocks of butter, 7 blocks of lard. That's a pretty significant weight loss. That's something I should be really proud of. And that visualization helps me realise I've actually made some real progress. Seen a few white butterflies around today. That's pretty much the last of the butterflies this year, I think. That's all I'm seeing now is whites, and they're just going from flower to flower, what's left of the flowers, getting what last little pollen they can before the long hibernation of winter. Well, the sun's come out. Look at that. That's a lovely way to round off what's been a week of ups and downs weather-wise. But it is very close. It's very muggy. There's still a bit of mist left here from this morning. And, or is it fog? I never know which. It's all to do with the droplet size, isn't it? But either way, it's muggy. You know, there's not a lot of air, and you feel as if you need a good thunderstorm to break it up. But sadly, we don't get a lot of thunderstorms over the Chiltern Hills, which is a shame, because I do like a bit of Donner and Blitzen now and again. Anyway, that's it for today. There'll be another Miscellaneous Meander next week. In the meantime, you can look forward to a couple of videos surrounding our most recent photo shoot, which we just did last week. And that was the one that we did at the infamous Hellfire Club caves in West Wickham. These extraordinary 18th century caves and tunnels that were carved into a chalk hill so that this secret society could meet. Extraordinary place. There'll be 2 videos, one showing the photo shoot that we did for Samhain, and Samhain is the pagan equivalent of Halloween, and there'll also be a slightly more extended video which will be a full tour of the caves themselves. So that should be fun, shouldn't it? So in the meantime, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Toodle-pip. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. Or click on some of these links to look at some of the other videos on the channel. Or press the like button. Or leave a comment. It would be lovely to hear from you. Any combination of those 4 things would be wonderful. Thank you very much.